Hello everyone, this is Savine. I wanted to share with you in this screencast what we learned about how customers are using MorphX reports. So a little bit of context. In April 2009, we were in the middle of some planning for AX 2012. And when we plan, we are a very data-driven company. So one thing we didn't know was how customers are using our out-of-the-box MorphX reports. We didn't know which reports were run. We didn't know which ones were popular. We didn't know which ones were not being used. We didn't know which ones were customized. And these were questions we needed to answer to make good decisions. So I asked my team to work with partners and customers to get some insight. And thanks to the cooperation of those partners and customers, we got some very useful data. And it helped us make some decisions and helped us figure out what features we needed to build to support their needs. And it helped us realize what we would actually end up shipping in terms of out-of-box reports in Dynamics AX 2012. So I'm going to share with you some of the highlights from what we learned. Now, we need to first start with usage frequency. Now, we have a total of about 1,210 reports, 1,210 MorphX reports in the AX reports portfolio, and that's the number as of AX 2009. The first thing we saw when we got the data back, and this was not totally surprising, the balance of it, that it was 80% of reports are accounted by a small set of reports, but we didn't think that that number was going to be that small. So only 10 reports, the top 10 reports, account for 80% of all reports run. And the remaining 1,200 account for 20%. So that was surprising. I expected it was going to be like 50 unique reports account for 80%. So this was our first surprise. We have this top 10, right? And we'll learn a little bit, we'll investigate that number a bit more later. So instead of focusing on the top 10, let's just think about the top 2. And again, this was shocking. Sales packing slip and sales invoice account for 41% of all report usage in Dynamics AX. That leaves about 1,208 reports accounting for 59%. So as you can see, sales packing slip and sales invoice are the most popular ones. And I know some of you intuitively know that, and you've been telling me that and telling my team that at the conferences. But it was really good to have the data to back it up. Now, in terms of frequency, when we started planning for AX 2012, we had this massive portfolio, 1,210 MorphX reports, and we had the suspicion that some reports were just really not being used. When we got the data back, it confirmed that suspicion. 40% of those MorphX reports were never run. We couldn't find a single customer that had a single user that had ever clicked on a button that launched 40% of the reports. So that's 484 reports approximately. That leaves 726 reports. 60% have at least been run once. And if you are a partner or customer, I'm sure your users are not really using 726. This is, we suspect, more a case of every customer is probably running 50 reports. It's just everybody's running a different 50 reports, right? But we're for sure that 40%, 484, are never being used. And that's one reason why you see the AX 2012 product have fewer SSRS production reports than we had MorphX production reports in the previous version. Because we know from the data we have from customers, a lot just aren't being used. Now, in those top 10 reports, and the next slide will actually show you the top 10, we were wondering, are these reports customized or not? Now, the data, when you look at the raw data, says that, 90% of the time those reports are run, they're being customized. And 10%, obviously, the remaining, are not. And I think it's actually quite interesting that the list is only 10 items, and it's specifically 10%, 1 out of every 10, are not being customized when they're run. And I have a suspicion why that is. But let's just take this at face value, and you can see that customization is incredibly important for those top 10. And I actually think it's more than 90%, which we'll get to in the next slide. Here are the top 10. Just look at the top 3 for a second. Sales packing slip, sales invoice, purchase order. Those are the top 3. And when you get past that, the remaining 7 or remaining 6 at the bottom, they're about the same level of usage, right? There's no big shift there. And this again counts for 80% of all report runs. Now look at the last one, Sys Report Auto. I think that's one that's not typically customized at all because it's a system report, right? It's not one that you would customize. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you exclude that weird little auto report, then you can understand why I believe that most of the reports that are on the top 10 are in fact, they're almost always customized. Okay? So, these few slides I've put up are what the team collected from customers, and it's been remarkably helpful for us whenever we make decisions. And, I wanted to share that with you to give you some insight about how we do things at Microsoft and how we're planning and have planned the AX 2012 release. So thanks for your time, and I look forward to talking to you in the next Screencast.